Yes,
Turn
sir.
anything on? We're good.
Recording.
All right. Good morning, Marines. My name's Ryan Frank. I'm a prosecutor in Stafford County, and I've been invited today to talk to you about consequences. It's pretty obvious. One of the biggest consequences you can have that I see Marines run into in Stafford County is DUIs. How many people live in Stafford County? Do you? Okay. Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg, Prince William County. Okay, few of you. How many are on base? All right. You're not going to get a lot of bars on base, so you find yourself out in town drinking on the weekends, and that's where we oftentimes see Marines getting in trouble. And there's a lot of misconceptions about DUIs. And one of the points I was trying to hammer home with the other groups was DUIs have been around for a long time, and defense attorneys make a lot of money on trying to get people off on DUIs. Prosecutors spend a lot of time trying to overcome those defenses. It's almost 100 years of case law and cat and mouse games of what you need to prove and how we beat that. If you take nothing else out of this, when you're pulled over or when a court case is pending is not the time to try to outsmart a system that is a lot older than you and a lot smarter than you. Okay? The number one way you can guarantee of not getting in trouble with a DUI is don't get behind the wheel after you've had a drink, period. Can you have 2 beers and drive home? Most people, yeah, probably you can. You're probably not at the point that you're intoxicated. But you definitely don't want to go through a DUI investigation. Don't find yourself in that situation, especially in the Marine Corps. Civilians don't have Drive Alive. They don't have that option. But you don't even need that. Between Uber, Lyft, regular taxi cabs, there is no excuse. No one's going to have any sympathy for why you had to find yourself behind the wheel of the vehicle after you've been drinking. All right? Bunch of misconceptions about DUI. Everybody know the legal limits, .08? Do you know what amount of alcohol has to be in your blood for you to be found guilty? Is it 08? Can it be less?
Yes.
See some head nod. Yes, it can be less. I've prosecuted alcohol-only cases, .06. Guy wanted to take it a couple times, a couple different guys want to take that to a jury trial. I'll try it with 12 people because everyone knows it's 08. I was 06 and driving wasn't that bad. The jury disagreed and they gave him a couple months to serve in jail. So it is possible. Good question I had from the last group. So why have the 08, right? .08 is an arbitrary number that legislatures came up with. Lawyers decided that. And it used to be .15. Has anybody, and I don't want to call anybody out, not involved with an arrest, but has anybody actually blown into a breathalyzer after drinking to kind of get I've had this many drinks so I can see what the number is. Anybody actually gone through that? Okay, a couple people. Law enforcement goes through it. Prosecutors go through that. It's called a wet lab. They feed you drinks, Just have a nice evening, drink at your own pace, but just keep going. And every once in a while we'll put you through the field sobriety test and the breathalyzer machine to see where you're at. My experience was, and I'm a casual drinker, frequent, every other day, sometimes daily, depending on the week, depending on what kind of defense attorneys I had to run into. And so I'm used to, holding my alcohol. And I got to the point where I was like, now I'm there. I'm feeling it, I can talk, I'm not slurring my words, but I don't think I wouldn't feel safe driving. I'm guessing I'm probably 0.11, right? This is after I've been prosecuted for a little while too. I felt like I had a pretty good idea of where I would be. And it's really crazy to think watching TV, you can assume what your blood alcohol level is going to be. Like you can self-report that. You can't. So I was shocked to feel that at that state, when I thought I was 0.11, I was 0.06. In no way would I get behind a car. No way. I thought I was way higher. I kept drinking. And at one point in the evening, I felt like, I'm good. I think I've kind of leveled out now and it's gone down. I would definitely get behind a car now. If anybody recorded me, I'm sure I was slurring my words. But I had the thought process of I feel safe now, and I was a .12. That's what happens to people. Is you drink to the point that now I feel I'm okay. I know I've been drinking all night, but I really do feel I'll be all right. I was in the Marine Corps too, and I did some dumb stuff. And I made it home sometimes when maybe I probably shouldn't have got behind the wheel of that car. So I'm not saying mistakes don't happen. Luckily, it didn't negatively impact my career, but some of my friends weren't so lucky. And if you're in the Marine Corps long enough, you're going to know some people that aren't so lucky too. The landscape has changed. When I was in, probably, 12 years ago, man. When I got out 12 years ago, my buddy, he ended up getting DUI. He goes to court, and the XO stands up and says, I'm here for this Marine. The judge says, what are you going to do? XO, he says, there's going to be punishments for this Marine when he leaves court. The judge says, that's good enough for me. Case dismissed, the Marine Corps will handle it. That doesn't happen anymore. What happens out in town doesn't stay out in town. It comes back to your command. We have an open line of communication with the Marine Corps. They don't want the bad PR. They get out ahead of stuff. They get out in front of stuff when they hear about it. They contact me on cases. I've contacted them. And just because the Marine Corps is going to take action doesn't mean the civilian side is not going to take action, and vice versa. I've had cases where I couldn't prove it in court. It was not guilty. And I was frustrated. I knew we had the evidence, and I think the judge made the wrong decision. But his command, they got everything I got. His command had the police report about everything this guy had said, about everything his wife had said. It was a domestic violence situation, all the evidence we had, all the pictures we had. You make your own determination. And they were starting the separation process as soon as they got that information, because they didn't need a criminal conviction. They didn't want somebody with that character in the Marine Corps. Okay? So, what you do in private does not always stay private. Keep that in mind. And it's not just DUIs. We can go back to DUIs. If I say anything and you got a question, do not worry about interrupting me. I'm going to run out of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a question and answer. And I know you have a bunch of questions about, how it really works. Is it true that when you get arrested, this happens? Or is it true that if I do this, you can't be found guilty? So interrupt me at any point. Go ahead.
Is it true that, say you pull me over, or say an officer pulls me over, and I turn the vehicle off, and I show him, say for instance I have an alcohol beverage in the console, and I drink it in front of him while he's walking up to the car, he can probably get me with, I don't know,
container.
Drunk in public, I don't know, but can he get me with DWI? Is that...
All the groups have asked almost an identical question. And I didn't tell him this story, but a family member who will remain nameless, my sister, found herself when she was a teenager many, many years ago in a car accident where she had been drinking underage. First thing she does, she's able to walk home and she starts chugging beer, right? With the idea of they won't be able to say I was drunk at the time. Now, fortunately, she didn't get in too much trouble for that, but a lot of other people we see in the criminal justice system try the exact same thing. And man, that's really frustrating to see a suspect right there try to play the system, so to speak. This gets back to what you don't know. You're not the first person to think about that. I'm not saying you specifically, but the person being arrested. We built a better mousetrap. We have forensic scientists now. That law enforcement officer, he's getting a sample of your blood or a sample of your breath. Come hell or high water, he's going to do it. If he's got to do a search warrant, he's going to do it. And then when he gets that search warrant, it's going to say, or when he gets that certificate of analysis, it's going to say what your blood alcohol level was at the time they took that sample. And if they took that sample within a half an hour of you drinking that alcohol, I don't care about that alcohol. I'm going to have a forensic toxicologist say that very, very recent one, that didn't play into this number because it was too recent. So the scientist is going to tell me that that person would have had to have had at least X amount of alcohol during this time frame period before he took that sip. So you think you're beating the system? Hey, you can't tell. You're not going to be able to tell, you know, if it's the drink I just had or something I had earlier. Yes, we will. I had a guy, I'm trying to think of anything else.
Is that in the state of Virginia?
That's in the state of Virginia. Now, I can't remember, I can't remember if it's changed or not. Watch yourself for ticks, guys. In the state of Virginia, you can't have an open alcohol container. In North Carolina, it might have changed. I do remember my sister's boyfriend would always have a beer sit next to him and just say it was a passenger's beer stuff kind of thing. That might have changed, but Virginia, you can't have open alcohol in the cab. Did it change? Okay. That's unfortunate. I used to like that law.
I have a question about the open container rule.
Yeah.
So, say like you went out to a friend's house, you had a couple drinks, you spent the night, you woke up, you're sober, you have like half a bottle of Jack left. Are you allowed to close the cap, set it in your back seat, and then drive it home? And like, could that be considered an open container?
If you have a trunk, put it in the trunk.
Could it go?
Could it be? Yeah. You also have to consider common sense. I don't see a heck of a lot of cases because we have common sense law enforcement officers that they're not going to jam somebody up on that just because they can. If it's not involved with what they're doing, you know, these are people too. They're human beings. They're not trying to create more work for themselves. There can be a negative impression of law enforcement. We have a very professional sheriff's office where if they're doing a DUI investigation and there's a half bottle of Jack that may or may not be related to that stop, they're taking that as evidence, and I'm looking at that as additional proof to prove that you've been drinking recently. But if it's, you know, a fender bender, there's no indication that anybody's been drinking at all. The fact that you just simply have alcohol in the car is not necessarily going to be an issue. But if it can be stored somewhere out of reach where it clearly wasn't, that's probably the better
like,
course of action.
So if I got tagged, say for speeding, I did 10 or 15 over, he can't walk up, look in the back window and be like, oh, I'm going to hit you with open container too. Just
He could, potentially. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I mean, I don't know what law enforcement officer you're going to get who pulls you over, but, you know, again, if you have something where you can store it, you know, in a bag, zipped up, where it's something you're clearly not grabbing, then I don't think it's going to be an issue for most people.
good deal. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Friends that are under the impression that I guess back in the day the law was if you had an open container the driver would get charged. So I guess they think now the individual who has the beverage gets charged, not the actual driver.
Well, there's a couple different theories they can go off of. It depends. If it is
So like
somebody,
if the driver's sober and hasn't been drinking,
if the driver is sober and hasn't been drinking and there's an open container in the car, who can they attribute it to? It's very fact dependent. So if it's the passenger that has a drink in their hand, they're probably getting the open container charge. Could the driver be charged? I haven't seen law enforcement officers do that, but it depends on the theory. If their theory is you just handed that to your buddy so you would get in trouble for it, you know, some other additional evidence that the driver could get charged, but it's very fact dependent. Open container is a lower level class misdemeanor, and definitely not as serious as a DUI, but that's a good point though.